Good evening to Barbadians in Barbados and across the diaspora, and of course, to all nationalities. Welcome to this episode of DLP TV, the best show in Barbados, it appears so far. Tonight, we want to discuss urban development in Barbados, and quite appropriately, we have an excellent panel for that discussion. To my immediate left, young Shaquani Hunte. Shaquani is the candidate for St. Michael West, and that's a very urban constituency. To my far right is Mr. Rowe, again, on the issue of urban development. Dale is the candidate for the city of Bridgetown. And to my immediate right, Dr. Alleyne. Interestingly enough, Derek contested the St. Michael West Central seat a few years ago. And Derek has also been a head of the Urban Development Commission. So this is a panel that comes with youth and experience, and that's our topic tonight. Let us apologize for the 2-minute start, the 2-minute lateness start, and before I apologize, let us go to Sue. Is Sue with us? Sue from USA. Sue, I almost forgot you. I'm sorry.
Good night, everybody, and thank you for having me tonight. Good night.
And we're discussing urban development. Sue, can you say where in Barbados you're country girl or you're urban?
Christchurch girl.
That's
I
urban or
know.
a bit of both?
A bit of both.
A bit of both. Thank you very much. So let's get into the discussion, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies first, they say, Shaquani. I want to ask you. Let's be political here, but honest as well. You represent St. Michael West, and most persons hearing of West would think Eagle Hall, and that's very urban. Tell us something about St. Michael West in terms of its. Yes.
Well, it is definitely a urban location. If you know where it is, where the boundaries are, the whole constituency is actually labeled as urban. In that constituency, we don't have a lot of playing fields.
Mm-hmm. Before you go there, they tell me I interrupt. I moderate. I don't interrupt. Give us an outline of the constituency you're coming. We are Eagle Hall by maps.
So
tell us where we're going.
We go from Eagle Hall, we go towards Hinesway Road, that's by lights. Then you can go
across Eagle Hall.
No, you
across
go,
Bank Hall.
Yes, across Bank Hall. To the right. To the right side, that is part of the constituency.
Yes.
We also go as far as by the Globe, and then we come back. Yes.
As large as that.
Yes, as large as that. We come back. We meet around Passage Road. Then we come down. I guess you would call that like Westbury, almost like opposite the Orleans on that side.
Yes.
But on the opposite side of the road. But then we go straight across by Kensington Oval on that side, and we're on the opposite side of the road from Kensington Oval.
Yeah.
And we go from there Westbury Main Road straight down to us for Chanel supermarket.
That's a large constituency.
Yes, it is a large constituency.
All right, let us go to your neighbor. Your neighbor, Dale Rowe. Dale, you're the city. Tell us about your borders so that the public has an idea what you're talking about here.
So let's say we start from Kensington Road, Kensington Oval.
Kensington Oval, yes.
So we're going to head to the stoplights by Westbury. We're going to make the right turn to head on to Passage Road.
Yes.
So when we get by Passage Road lights, we're gonna go all the way up to Country Road.
Country Road, yes.
Like maybe we're gonna come around by Robert Street, by ICBL. Then we're gonna make the right turn. So we're gonna cover Halls Road as well. So from Halls Road, we're gonna head straight down to Savvy, Bay Street.
Yes.
And then when we make the left by the stoplights by the church, Savvy. So we're gonna
by the Catholic Church.
By the Catholic Church.
You're turning right. We're going to go left.
We're gonna go. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. So we're gonna go left. We're gonna cover Dunlow Lane.
Yes.
And then we're gonna make the left by on Bay Street to head towards Beckles Road by the playing field. YMPC.
Gotta know your constituency.
Correct. Yes. So then when we go straight up, we're gonna head all the way up to Quarry Road. We're gonna make the left onto Quarry Road. And then, so all of the houses on the bare land on the left of Quarry Road is the city. And then we have Orleans, Chapman Lane. Yes.
Derek, if I ask you about West Central, they're going to say, they're bringing back Derek to run as West Central. You better leave that alone.
Yeah.
Leave that alone. Derek,
Mhm.
still, I want to ask you, West Central, you would be Shaquani's neighbor when
Right.
you were running there,
Right.
and you're not running next time.
No,
right?
no,
Good.
definitely
So
not.
let's clear
As
that.
a matter of fact, I walk the constituency now.
You walk, yes. So you're the neighbor of Shaquani's.
Yes.
And where's West Central?
If you pick from Eagle Hall
Yes.
and you're going north,
Mhm.
and you go as far as St. Stephen's Church,
Good.
you make a right in front of St. Stephen's Church.
St. Stephen's Hill.
You go up the hill and everything on the right
Yes.
until you come to Gazette's new
Gazette's,
road.
yes.
New road, which used to call the one you had their name.
Burma Road.
Burma Road, that's right.
Next to the mount. You know about the
With
mount,
the
right?
dunks, the dunks,
With the
the
dunks.
dunks,
Yes.
We take an imaginary line to the community center. From the corner, right?
Yes.
You don't
Grisette's Community Center.
right. You take an
Mhm.
imaginary you go across the park, the industrial park.
Yes.
Come over by the community center,
Mhm.
and then you go up
Which community center?
Gazette
Gazette
Community Center.
Mhm.
And then you go up from there to Longyac. Everything
Longyac.
on the right. Everything on the right.
Yes.
Turn right at Longyac. And
Mhm.
everything on the right. Back to Eagle Hall.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So we have a picture of the constituencies.
Mhm.
How many persons you would think live in your constituency?
Roughly around 7,000 people, a little bit more.
7,000.
Yeah.
Dale?
Yeah,
How
about
many?
6,800.
6,800.
Yes.
Now, Sue, you're with us, Sue?
Yes, I am. I'm here.
Chime in. Tell where in Christchurch were you from when you were here?
Just above Oystons.
Above Oystons. That's urban then.
Yeah. Well, some people tend to call Christchurch town.
Yeah, it is a town. Tell us something about it when you were here just 3 years ago as a 17-year-old.
Well, the area was very close to Oyston, so it was like kind of, you were right there with the fishing town.
Yes.
And it's a very it's kind of quiet and very laid back, I'd say.
Quiet and laid back.
And
Okay.
it's still 3 years ago when I was there. It's a lot of it has changed quite a bit, but it's
Mhm.
still a quiet kind of sleepy area.
Okay. I said 3 years ago when you were 17. I think you missed that.
I did. Yes. When I was 17, yes.
When you were 17. Okay. Shaquani, tell us something about St. Michael West. You started to talk about playing fields. We want to know how St. Michael West caters to the age groups. Let's begin with young people. How does it cater to young people? Obviously, you mentioned playing fields.
Well, in St. Michael West, if you go in that area, you will see almost every single child outside on a bicycle. I don't know about the other constituencies, but
Mhm.
the children in my constituency very much still go outside. They very much play.
Really?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I can tell you definitely we've been out canvassing, and the amount of children we see outside with bicycles,
Mhm.
you almost have to create a different bicycle lane for them. But
This includes Eagle Hall. Busy
Yeah.
Eagle Hall.
yeah, because even though it is close, children want to be outside. They don't want to walk around with their friends. In our constituency, we don't have a lot of pastors, but we do have the cemetery. That was my pastor when they grow up.
Really?
Yeah, you run, you walk, you exercise, you flew kites, we play hide and seek. Everything that you can think about that you would do in the community center or the pastor, we did it in the cemetery.
How-
I mean, it seems strange, but even in terms of currently people ride motorcycles in the cemetery, that is where they play. That is where they go outside.
That's interesting. So the cemetery
Yeah, in
serves
that
as a
area.
playground.
Yes, it is.
Quite.
I still do 3 laps in there every morning.
As I tell you.
Every morning I do 3 laps. in
When
there.
when I was
Inside.
younger, I didn't even know. Somebody asked me one time if I'm not afraid to be in the cemetery. I was like, no, there was some. I didn't even know it was something to be afraid of because
That was
I
home.
remember. Yeah,
That
that
was
was
the playground.
fun. We woke up in the morning to walk my younger siblings. Well,
Mhm.
when my younger sister was a baby,
Mhm.
and we saw other people walking their children like for morning air. You know how
Mm-hmm.
your grandparents would say, "Go and carry your child for fresh air."
Mm.
So when you think about it, in areas like that, you have to utilize what is around you.
Well, tell us what is around you.
In that
Playing
area,
fields.
we
You're happy
don't-
with recreational facilities there?
No, we can definitely use some community centers.
How many do you have in terms of playing fields?
What I would say is in terms of playing fields,
Yes.
I don't know what we will consider playing fields. We do have some open spots.
No, the established playing field, community center, playing field, cricket, football, Passage Road only.
Passage Road is the
So
only
in
one.
your entire constituency,
Yes.
one.
Yes.
and you're sharing that with Dale
We
from the
share that
city.
with Dale. Yes.
So obviously, as an aspiring parliamentarian for that area, you want to agitate
Yeah.
for more
For years,
recreational
even
areas.
in terms of if you go up closer to Hinesbury School,
Mhm.
the people in that area, they will utilize the school. There is a park, but
In the school. But let's talk about traditional
Well, in
recreational
traditional,
areas,
they
playing
were
fields.
promised
One playing field in the entire.
yes, one community center area. They were promised one up that side not a couple years, many years ago.
Uh-huh.
They've still not received one.
So what's the public response to this? Have the residents agitated for a playing field, or are they
The
just?
residents are frustrated and tired.
Mhm.
They keep hearing that you're going to get something. They're being promised things. And at this point, they really are just looking for things for their children to do. We're saying that we have a lot of crime being committed by younger people.
Mhm.
But the reality is that we're not even
Don't
giving
come
them the
to crime yet.
spaces.
Don't come
I
to
mean,
crime.
no, I mean, like,
Let's-
I want
let's-
to relate
let's-
to Aving. They're
Yeah,
not giving
I
them the
know.
spaces.
Let's
Mm.
deal with a young person.
Mhm.
Let's say 13, 14. He is a good athlete, and he's from St. Michael West, and he is not close to Passage Road.
Mhm.
What does he do?
Run in the road.
Mm.
Like every
No.
other child.
He wants.
Well-
he has to do it at school then.
I can't even say they can do it at school because some of the school facilities
So-
aren't even up to
but St.
standard.
Michael West must have produced cricketers, footballers.
Yes, but like I don't know about the
So
other
let's go to the
communities.
13-year-old. A
But-
13-year-old. Listen to me carefully.
Mhm.
A 13-year-old boy or girl from St. Michael West who has athletic talent. Is there anywhere in St. Michael West that express that athletic talent, whether it is cricket, football, track and field?
Okay, they can use the beach. They can utilize the beach.
Mhm.
A lot of us will walk down to the beach,
Mhm.
Brandon's.
Mhm.
They can again play in the cemetery because that is where we will race. You
Mhm.
will do everything there. They
Mhm.
can even go to what is it called? Well, I've witnessed a lot of the younger children playing football on the road. As cars pass, you come onto the road. If you want to play road tennis, you play in the road. When the car's passing, you move the
Net.
net.
Facilities are lacking.
Facilities are lacking. They can do a lot more, but I guess we are the forgotten town.
They forgot. I like
Yeah,
that.
the forgotten,
forgotten
town in the
town.
city. When you've had a space or a constituency for a while, I feel at
Mhm.
some point you need to do some type of development.
Yes, and none has really
No,
been
none
done.
has done.
Dale, let's come to you, the city.
Yes, sir.
I went to school at Wesley Hall. Don't want to personalize it, but and Derek as well. We boast about that a lot. When I was at Wesley Hall back then, the best cricketers in Barbados were at Wesley Hall. I promise you that.
Yes,
And they-
I attended Wesley Hall as well.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Shaquani,
I did
You went
not.
to Wesley Hall? Or you stayed there for a while. Now, there was the YMCA, and I think in latter years there's been a Murphy pastor there.
Murphy, yeah.
Tell us about recreational facilities in the city, Dale.
Honestly, sir, we have the pavilion there in Chapman Lane.
A pavilion in Chapman Lane.
Yes,
That's
that-
the one we held the meeting at.
No, that is Emerton.
Oh, that's
Emerton.
Emerton.
So directly opposite Emerton,
Uh-huh.
there's a pavilion there that is not being occupied.
It has a playing field as well.
a small playing field, hard court, yeah,
Hard court. Oh,
Yes.
hard court.
Yes.
And what do they play there? Basketball?
From what I've witnessed, from what the residents are saying, it is very bad condition. It is in a very bad tall bush,
Mhm.
wild dogs,
Mhm.
and that is the current situation in Chapman Lane.
Mm. YMCA is still available?
YMCA is available. However, if you want to do something at YMCA, you have to book it in order to have access to that playing field.
You mentioned Passage Road?
Passage Road,
Pavilion?
yeah. So Passage Road Pavilion is more on Shaquani side.
Yeah, but
So yeah.
geographically, I mean, it's at the top of Passage Road. That's city,
Yes,
isn't it?
It's city, yeah.
So a person from the city can go there.
Can go there.
Yeah.
But
Canada Lodge.
these places, they just exist.
Uh-huh.
They're closed.
They're closed.
They're closed majority
That's
of
a
the times.
tragedy.
And if they're open, you cannot really do anything of substance as a youngster.
So you're doing better than St. Michael West in terms of playing fields.
Yes.
But you're introducing another point that while you have more playing fields, there's no activity. They're closed.
Yes, sir.
Why is this?
Some of the persons that manage some of the recreational the pavilions, those persons have them open during the day, and if they are open, nothing is being done.
Why?
On the
Why?
evening, they close it early, and the young people just
Tell us this, Dale. The young people are not interested, or the government is not pursuing.
the government is not pursuing anything
programs.
as it relates to programs or extracurricular activities in the community.
So the young people want
Yes.
to play football and cricket and so on.
Yes.
There used to be a tape ball competition down there. I don't know, maybe a little young to talk about that. Right? You remember that, Derek?
I remember the former representative, Michael Carrington,
Uh-huh.
had for 4 years
Yes.
a competition, including Paris Gap. Some guys from over in the city, up the road there on Passage Road, and he had 12 teams.
So, yeah.
He used to run every year.
So
4 years.
sport is almost non-existent in your constituency.
Sports is existent. However,
Which sport?
all sports, football, cricket,
Where are they doing it?
netball.
Where are they doing it?
So these persons is gonna go and join clubs.
Outside of the city.
If you have money, you can join clubs.
Which clubs are they joining?
Uh,
Spartan, I hope.
I am not sure, to be honest. I am not sure, to be honest.
They join it.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
You know,
oh shit, I forgot about
That's it.
Empire.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay,
And
And
if
that is so
activities,
Definitely not Spartan.
if they do have activities or any sort of events, it's because persons in the area coordinated those events.
Oh, I
The
see.
government is not involved.
Derek, I'm going to come to you, but I'll go to ladies first. Sue, I'm going to ask you tonight to speak for New York, the New York boroughs, Brooklyn, Queens. You don't mind?
Yeah, go
You
ahead.
can speak with authority on those areas, New York, where the Bajans are, Brooklyn and Queens. You've seen it, you know it.
Yes, not I wouldn't say that I'm an expert, but yes, I know the boroughs. Like I know Brooklyn.
Now, my own experience going to New York, just about on every corner there's the basketball court,
Yes.
and those cities are designed to embrace sports, are they?
Yes, everywhere you go, you can get like either a small or big kind of community playground in
Right.
on almost every other corner. You can
Mhm.
have, and it's designed for little kids, young mothers who can walk their kids in the morning or
Yes.
afternoon. So every other street, you'll find a small, medium, or a bigger kind of playground for
Yes.
mothers, families, older people if they want to walk in the morning or in the afternoon. So yes, it's
So
designed.
these
Yeah.
facilities cater to all age groups, because
Yes.
I found it interesting that you say mothers can bring their children and walk them.
Yes. Yes.
So
So
there's a lot of community interaction between the ages.
yeah, you would find a lot of in certain areas. Well, sometimes it depends on where it is, but yes, in general, you can find all age groups. A lot of basketball in particular. You'll find every other street,
see.
especially in Brooklyn.
Okay, and in your experience, you've seen them being utilized.
Oh yes, I utilized them when my kids were young. I'd go you'd meet other mothers and you'd go into the playground like 10 or so in the morning, and you do that every day when your kids are young,
Yeah.
as
I
long as
asked,
you're up.
I'm sorry, I asked you that to contrast against what Dale is telling us about the city. And I was telling Dale that when I was going to Wesley Hall, all of the open spaces were utilized. The fellas came to Wesley Hall. My colleagues, my classmates came to Wesley Hall as very, very good cricketers and footballers. So they must have had facilities somewhere. But Dale is telling us now that there's not a lot of use in the city of those recreational facilities. I'm going to come to Derek. Derek, you're a sociologist of some merit.
Thank you.
You're a PhD. So we want to draw on your brain tonight. Tell us about the relationship between sport and the development of young people. Is it important?
It's very critical. there's an argument that once kids get involved in activities from young, they develop a sense of belonging.
Belonging to that community.
Well, no, of belonging generally. They
I see.
want to be a part of a group. They
Yes.
want to associate with others.
Yes.
And those kind of early interventions into clubs and group games and so on help them to behave more humane with other people. They are less likely to be violent, more
Yes.
prone to forgive because they're into activities that lend themselves to that kind of behavior. But that will really bring us to the whole question of urban development and providing spaces
Yes.
for recreation and so on. And what I've been arguing from the time I was at urban, that you cannot build out a complex without restoring things that made the communities what they were. Let's take Empire Club at Spartan.
Yes.
Now, our society changed a lot.
Spartan
was considered a middle class.
It was, yes.
Right? And Empire was considered less middle class.
Yeah, lower middle.
Right. Now, Empire survives today because it has grounded itself in a community.
Yes.
Okay.
I know. Yeah.
Spartan never had a community that fed it.
That's true. As a matter of fact, Spartan operated in the community in spite of the community.
Correct.
So the people who backed Spartan would have come from around Martindale Road. Martindale's Road.
Correct.
Some came from as far, my friend Dave Marshall from My Lord's Hill.
Okay.
Yeah, but the Spartan Club existed independently, socially of that community.
Correct.
And you're making the contrast that Empire Club grew out
of Bank Hall.
That's
so
interesting.
People never say that they're going to Empire. We're going to Bank Hall.
You're going to Bank Hall.
And that was the connection
Yeah.
to the community. And I'm saying here we are. We have in town another center that I'm going to be open that we have allowed to disappear.
Which is that?
The YMCA.
YMCA, yeah.
And then know the YMPC is supposed to be moved.
Yeah.
No, we see restoration is not only about buildings. It's about
YMPC is
Yes.
yes. You heard what Derek said.
Yes.
and YMCA too.
Yes.
In 4th Street.
Yeah.
No, we need to be
And YMCA grew out of
urban,
Bayland.
right?
Bayland.
Urban
Yes.
youth.
So
No,
it was
that
an
YMPC,
organic growth.
YMPC,
YMPC, yes.
And the YMCA, the young men from Green
town.
Park Lane and those areas played cricket, basketball, and football.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, YMCA had very strong teams
Yes, it did.
in cricket and football. They don't have any anymore.
Yeah.
They don't have any more. And we keep forgetting this. There was a center called Youth Town,
Oh yeah.
right corner Reed Street.
Corner of Mahogany Lane.
Well,
Mahogany Lane,
yeah.
one of those streets right there at the corner. And the
the
Barbados team came out of Youth Town.
Youth Town.
Robert Earl,
And Sealy Boys.
Sealy.
Yes. Wharton Brothers.
Ricky Cummins,
Yes.
yeah, Gladstone Wharton.
No, you see, you're not, it is not the restoration of the building that is important.
Right.
It's the restoration of what the building stands for.
Yeah.
It's a center, it's a meeting place, it's a building a culture, training people to be good citizens, developing sports, all of those things we need to restore.
Yes. Yeah.
So we need to not the physical thing. What did Youth Town stand for? What does the YMPC stand for? What does the YMCA stand for?
Are you saying to Dale and Shaquani that it is impossible to have genuine community development unless you focus on sports?
I mean, and the arts.
And the arts, yes.
Dance.
Yes.
We used to dance in the YMPC.
And I hear you talking about character building,
Yes.
teaching people
how to live together.
In fact, we used to say, Derek, if you want to know if I'll play cricket with him.
Yes, or football.
Yes, his character and his personality come through.
I listened to, I think it was a eulogy for Jeffrey Maskell.
a part of a unit, to be a part of an organization, wouldn't you say?
Yes, that I grew up in. Even the adults will come outside. Say if it was like a Sunday evening, everybody will come outside and race in the road.
Really?
So you will have the 5-year-olds, we do them in age groups. So you will
Right.
have up to at least 25, under 25 people running.
In the road?
Yeah,
That was beautiful. Where was this?
in Bank Hall.
In Bank
In
Hall.
Bank Hall. Where my family is from.
This
where
is
my
still
mom's
going
from.
on? People still run races in the road?
Well, not as
You're not seeing that anymore, are you?
not as much as they used to before.
Uh-huh.
But say if electricity was off and we had a hurricane or something like that,
Mhm.
and there's no communication outside within the gap,
Mhm.
you will see everybody coming to our gap because our gap is a gap known for
That's
we
the
can
place to
fill,
be.
yeah, you can find things.
What
So
was this
yes,
gap called? Pre-Victoria Road. Pre-Victoria Road girl.
yeah. So you can
Yeah.
see people come to dance, you can see somebody make stumps. And you can definitely see at least people from 5 gaps away, everybody coming to play cricket.
Dale, we have an athlete to our left. You better have
You better have.
any sports you played?
Last of all, I won the 1500 meter and the 800 meter.
Really?
Yes, at in school sports.
Shaquani?
Yes.
I just haven't said which races they
Okay.
Yeah,
You won the 8 and the 15.
Yes, please.
But with these shoulders, I thought you would have been a
A
sprinter.
sprinter? No.
8 and the 15.
18 and 15.
Cricket,
yes.
football, basketball, volleyball, like Shaquani.
I loved cricket.
Mhm.
However, I had to choose at secondary school either to focus on cricket or
Uh-huh.
focus on track
Uh-huh.
because both training sessions happened around the same time.
I see.
So it didn't give me the opportunity to pursue both.
I see.
So I chose.
And how
track.
far did you go in track?
Uh,
You went to the stadium and ran in the school sports?
in the school sports,
Really?
yes.
You're a
Yes,
champion.
Yes. Came first at in the school sports.
You did?
15 and 800, yes.
You must have hide your light under a bushel. How old are you when you won?
12 and 13.
12 and 13.
Yes,
And what
sir.
happened? Oh, well, after that, you just
After that,
a better runner beat you.
no, I pulled my muscle,
You pulled your muscle.
and then
That was it.
that was just it. Yeah.
Mhm. All right, we've talked about recreational facilities and young people. Sue was telling us that we've lost our audience. Oh, Sue was telling us that the recreational facilities in the US cater not only to young people. We tend to focus here in Barbados. When you think of a playing field, you think of people between the ages of what? 5 up to 35.
Yes, but
In the United States, Sue was telling us that you have mothers coming out and walking their children in the prams and so on.
well, as I told you, we don't have the playing field, so we have to utilize the roads as our playing fields. And with that sentiment, yes, you will see people outside walking from as early as 5 a.m. You wouldn't see a lot of people out a lot earlier than that due to the dark. Well, not only darkness, crime. It is not as safe as it was before, so people will come out a little bit later now. But you will definitely see people outside exercising, walking their children, walking their dogs. And it is a real community spirit. I can even remember times as younger, well, coming out to secondary school, going to classes with my parents or like aunties from the neighborhood. We used to go to the community center and do like cooking classes, like do different things as a group. So when you come from a very community, close-knit, oriented, I guess, village, that's what I'm going to call it, a village, you find that you do a lot of stuff together.
Mhm.
I remember many times going by their houses after school. Once homework was done, you would go outside or you would do homework as a group.
Mhm.
But we always knew that
And when we don't deal with matter infancy, they become normal. And the behavior, the language is taken to another level. It's cool if you tell them on the bench. of the Barbados Cricket League today. I was still telling there's still a BCL. Well, as a matter of fact, yeah, and the CR is trying very hard to get some things happen. Even today, steady.
One sec, Derek. We've lost our sound. Have we lost our sound? It's back.
I think the sound is gone again.
You sure we have sound there? Steve? Oh, okay. Which is the point. I don't know if it's got to do with sun.
Have some.
Sound.
You have some.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
So you're hearing us? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Now I'm hearing you again.
Thank you. I'm reading some of the comments and let me tell who is a frequent viewer says sound is going and coming. Sorry about that, let me find here. Apologize. Rihanna Torrington says lost it once more again. Team here telling us we have it. We have some. Going and coming. Please fix it. We have a very keen audience here. Dale, question about us. We're talking urban development, we're talking urban physical development. What environment then like urban? Don't identify anybody, just figure out the issue of virus. Major, minor, a major issue, major issue, major. People are scared. People are scared. How are they showing that fear? Person usually populated as they used to be. Their mortality is between children coming from 30, their homes, they live here.
I was in this time
Most persons. Yeah. Even they are sensitized. Something really you're young, just live. What's the so they have an awareness of gun information. And of course, they can see it on their phone. Okay, go ahead.
something funny. Yeah, they live in the city. Something like where little children between 40 and 50
Are afraid. Not only afraid, but they're afraid. The final years is a similar experience and say, Michael, that
Yes, we do have fear, but there's service.
it's still.
Even though our area will be known as an area where we have a lot of and I want to say almost a person, and that is really bad. They're a person that something
too.
and they're to take the best. Because if they wait until nothing going to ever happens, they may never get opportunity to speak because they're not addressing the situation. Situation laws where you have locations where the student got, I gave an example as being to raise cemetery as playground, a place where we walk, a place where we exercise. We have the you know how your citizens are the residents in that area, you start facility. You can at least assist them. Yes, it is.
I'm sorry, you mentioned like, and they want to have very program. 70s, 80s, let's say 70s, at 6 o'clock you stop. And then like to introduce things to the recreation. And everybody thought it so much. Great idea. Oh, lighting affected community life and sport. Good, bad,
Bring the spirit in.
Oh,
You might come wrong with you.
yeah.
I had really done it. Wasn't like clear to them.
Yeah.
In the 19th, now we started lights. With on the basket or on board the end of the and then I let them buy it. It's because
We being the regular
community. What? And we still one more time.
I know I want. I know it won't work. I guess I want the skill set to decide.
That made me more, that made me mean, because we all had first.
What I focused on here is the regular life. In the 80s, mainly, people became very excited. To play at night. But there are communities like that. People don't play. Why? Why is that?
First thing they got paid in.
Oh, do
But
$10.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to pay like, let's say from 6 to 10 o'clock. How much per hour? $10 per hour.
And what really amazes me is that in Barbados, like balls, outfits, things,
Yeah.
the umpires,
Yes. You're hearing the discussion? So is it, I think so is muted. You may be hearing us, but you're muted.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Yeah. You're with us, Sue? We're not hearing Sue, I'm sorry. All right, Sue, you may be hearing us, we're not hearing you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. I want.
Okay, so I didn't hear the discussion just now. I couldn't hear it all.
We were talking about the existence of lights at the recreational facilities, basketball courts. That from the 80s and 90s, the government started to install lights. And people became very excited about playing at night. The panel here is telling us that lights are an issue now because you have to pay for them. And I don't know whether this would have been an issue in the urban centers of North America. Lights are an issue, or you just go there and the lights are on. Don't know.
No, I've never known of that. There's never an issue with lighting. They're pretty much maintained, and I've never heard. And who would pay for them? The lighting. Who pays for that?
The club, $10 per hour deal tells us.
If you as a community member, if you'd want to use the playground.
Yes, yes,
Oh
yes,
wow.
yes.
Yeah, I've never heard of that here. It's pretty much well maintained, and if there's a light out, is fixed. I've never had to pay or known of any other families who would have to pay to use a community space like that, an open air space.
And we were discussing, I don't know if you heard the discussion. Shaquani was saying that in her constituency, in her communities, there's still a lot of activity among young people playing in the street and playing on. They're saying, by contrast, in the city, a lot of young people have withdrawn into the house because they fear being shot. Are you still getting from what you see in the United States, a lot of the young people are still occupying the playgrounds.
Yes, very much so. You know, on any given day, especially when the weather gets better, you'll see lots of young people, older people, well, all ages are in those playgrounds. Yes, very, very heavily utilized.
Social decline here, Derek, and so that a lot of young people are disappearing from the recreation areas, and that is a severe crisis that we're having in Barbados as well.
Mm.
I think it's good to
Yeah, yeah. If you heard Derek is saying that that's why our sports teams are doing so badly. Certainly a few years ago, our football teams, our national football teams drew people, tell you, Hampton Village, City, Pine, Gall Hill, you can see what are you? You can fly forward. You have a good day. Yeah, so
Trains.
yeah,
Yeah, but
yeah, that's right. That's right. So that social violence has really hurt not only the communities directly, but it has hurt athletic performance nationally. And when you hear people talk about our cricket teams and our football teams not being as good as those, perhaps that is one of the reasons. So violence has been really affecting this society. Let's come to the housing, provision of housing. I spoke in Parliament on Tuesday, and I spoke to the Thorne housing staff in Parliament. Michael, I mentioned already. I'm sorry to be naming part of it, but you know, if we want to improve people's lives, we have to know where those people are. Is your general at large assessment of housing in your constituency? We definitely need housing.
So, I believe suppose on the approach that we use.
Yes.
Of the more ordinance, when we hear plans, when it's considered and gets funding, it's also when it's once of the then the show time, all obviously use time. So, my own on here, also.
Good. I wanted to come to that. So you're saying that the housing needs to be improved.
Yes.
Because you go down the street, for example, and you see 15 houses on one side, 15 on the other side. And they change up here.
Yes.
What would you do? Would you repair all 30 houses? You would bring them back to 30 houses of acceptable quality, or would you move them and put housing units as you have in Beacon? What is your concept? Don't be afraid to say it.
Honestly, I think that we can do the housing area units.
Housing areas.
Yeah, that way then we can all housing for as much people city. In addition,
How high would you go?
at least 4 stories.
4 stories.
Yes.
We did that at the battery and Grotto. So you would do high rise housing.
In addition to that, there are streets in the city that have, let's say, about 20 doors. And we have 3 lanes in the street. It's not jump out.
Shaquani urban renewal. Dale is saying that he would transform to high rise housing. What's your position on this? You would repair what you have, keep the individual units, or would you go for the high rise housing?
We don't have space.
You don't.
So.
No, he's talking. Creating a space like this. He's saying, if you have 30 houses on the street, you move those, they're high rise. You would leave the 30 houses, you would prepare to have That's fine.
They never.
Right. First, the question of having super dominant. Let us assume that would you go for high-rise housing or would you go for individual?
Most of the things.
That's an interesting. That's an interesting contrast.
They want to actually move on. They said the issues they're having. They supposed to know what your neighbor. You're stuck in.
It's like
But you can't. But okay, in a facility where you have multiple different personalities living in the space. So people going to the walls. We have to put down the noise inside the building, taking eggs and helping them on the walls. The inside of the walls are not being maintained. So there's no like say external here. So even though it was a good concept, they have some issues where the buildings are being maintained. So then who was it for? So residents know how to due to just keep it safe.
let's assume that. So you're with us. So is with us.
Not at the moment.
Oh,
Not at the moment.
not with us. Derek.
She's back now.
Okay.
Hi, I'm back. I'm trying to hear clearly.
Technical problems because we really love having you on the
I
show.
know. Yeah.
We were talking about the kind of housing development and the issue of urban development and urban renewal. Dale is opting for, and this is an interesting discussion, it's a necessary discussion. Dale is saying if you have 30 houses on the street in the city, he would move those and do high-rise housing. Shaquani is saying no, he's going to leave the individual units and just repair them. Your view as a Bajan/New Yorker.
I
Obviously in the United States you've seen high-rise.
I'm not. I don't know if high rises would be it would fit into who we are, culturally. Maybe I think there should be a mix, but I'm not sold on 100% on high rises in the city. I think it just changes the whole environment, and I'm not so sure if that fits well with the way we are in Barbados. I'm not so sure.
High-rise or individual unit? Place for board.
And it depends on where you locate them.
Yeah.
It also
Yeah.
when you work in New York, you want the table in the line.
Really?
Yeah. But those are the areas where you can do special mission.
Yeah.
I heard you on apartment the issue of restoration.
Yes.
When
And that's restoration.
when
That is uniquely Barbadian.
right, all for repairing and say unoccupied building.
Correct.
Before that, when we started doing inventory. Yes, so we empty out. That's what I wanted to hear about this. And I don't know what's happened today. It was a policy plan by the Party when they came into office.
Yeah.
That they were going to restore and take over buildings that people were not paying taxes for. And they were going to, rather than build up new places, go that route first and try to acquire, restore, replace, rather than taking new lands, go that route first. I don't know what happened in the program. I thought it was an interesting, workable concept. And one that come on money is Robert's manufacturing facility there.
Yes.
It's been unoccupied now for 20 years. I don't know what happens there. It is it is
It's
fine.
just there.
Just there.
Just there. So used a very interesting word. I don't know if you hear that. Sue used the word culture. And when Sue used that word, I was thinking of the chapel house. Unique Barbadian chapel. And I wanted to ask, and clarify, is there scope for restoration of the Barbadian? All the features, gables?
I don't know if you remember, but
Is there scope for that?
we were inspired from you, but you made mention doing houses. Oh, the highway one. What you would do with it? Build them out into the lovely Barbadian houses with a good facility. And do shopping, you do cooking. Like I don't remember your idea, and it sounds to be you have got sure. Build it up a community.
Yes. There you're losing the high-rise part of it.
That's kind of
Oh, okay.
So you would have to.
I turn them off.
Yeah.
You know, we have also associated artists and doing
Right.
It's just like, yeah, and
Yeah.
you know, but then there are certain areas that we can do that. But then,
I envision designing a very beautiful bar. Neighborhoods with the chapel house, nice gable roof. You have the two windows, obviously not you have the mass produced, not the original ones. Is that the kind of thing you envision for St. Michael with a constituency that's transformed into the single units that you want, and that the government would assist people in transforming these communities, and that transformation involves or includes the transformation away from violent lifestyle.
I think if the government wants to tackle it as a national issue, they can. And basically, they can say that anybody who wants to do a child house, design house, we can offer you opportunities to get those material reduced costs. Because we're looking to get this transformed back to what it used to look like, utilizing the child house.
Yes. Yes.
With that, so if a regular house will cost $300,000 to utilize this method, it should cost less, even if it is valued more,
Yes.
just for the fact that people are trying to help preserve the history and culture of
Correct,
the it stands for.
Mhm.
So with that, say you have that may be too many, but say you have 50 people who
You're
want
good.
to apply.
You're good with these numbers.
Yeah, I thought about it.
Uh-huh.
So every year they can probably do it like a lottery.
Mhm.
If you like how they do it overseas. So if people can sign up and the first 50 people to register every year, every 2 years, will get an opportunity to build the house within that and then make that recovery using this stuff.
So you go for the beautiful chapel house village community.
Yes. If you want to have a house and you feel like that is something that you want to be a part of the Barbadian culture and help, help
Yeah.
preserve the history of Barbados,
Yes.
you will be able to build this house at this reduced rate. And
Yes.
with that, you'll be helping the country. So yes, I do think every officer of the region would be very interested in people
So-
their own houses.
Thank you. So would you like to
Yes.
come back to a Barbados once a year and see a whole host of beautiful chattel houses, Bayland, Orleans, Rosette,
Yes,
or would you like to see high rises?
no to the high rises. Yes to the
There
chattel
you go.
houses in some beautiful houses in some beautiful colors.
Colors,
But
yes.
how about they rent it to us? Like, some people can also rent it to us, and we
Yes.
can bring our North
Yes.
American friends
Precisely.
who are
Community
not
tourism.
used. Yes, community
Community
tourism.
tourism.
And they
Yeah,
can make
yeah.
money from those houses, a couple times a year. Yes, and yes.
So I am absolutely certain. I focus on Bayland a lot. Bayland, Bayland.
Yes.
And I am sure driving through on the back roads, I saw an Airbnb in Bayland.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
They are. And so the village communities are into tourism. It's just
Yes.
that we don't acknowledge it.
Yes.
But I go before I think we lose the idea of the highways.
Mhm.
Now, if you come on Spring Garden Highway
Mhm.
and you look at the farm,
Yes, that's high rise.
it's a beautiful sight.
Yes, yes.
It's a beautiful sight.
It is.
And my friend Ricardo Williams,
Yes.
who used to be on cruise ships, told me that when he came home on a cruise ship one time, came to Barbados, and he told the gentleman, I live on the beach. And he was like, I live on the beach.
He's not
You live on the beach? He said, yes.
Great.
Got me a big shot. And Ricky said that when he showed him the units, he said, wow, you guys will have a lot of money. You know, see what those are government. Subsidized.
But I'm glad that you said that because a couple years back, my friend rented an Airbnb on the beach. It did say it was on the beach. You could walk to the beach from it.
Mm.
And when she got there, she said, Shaquani, look at the location they sent you. And when I clicked the location, it was in the confirmed. It was the same way, right? So it was an Airbnb, but then how the person described the area, it was a beachfront property.
Yes, it is. Because there's nothing between there and the beach.
Yeah, so
No,
it
it
is
was
different.
not. But it was
Excellent.
the setup was amazing. It was lovely, and it just goes to show that how you decorate and make your unit your own
Yes,
makes a difference.
Excellent party shop.
yes.
I think they're going to chase you all off the panel now.
Yes.
Yes,
They
they
want
are.
to do. So you're staying with us because we
Yes.
want to hear you on Tint legislation.
Oh dear. I'm here.
yes,
I'll stay.
Yes, yes. You're the American here. You have to educate us on this Tint business.
Oh
so I
no.
want to thank Dale, Shaquani, and Derek, Alleyne for joining us on urban development. You have to come back though. There's so many more aspects to urban
Definitely.
Yes.
development and urban renewal. We only touch a few aspects of it. So thanks a lot, Doc, Dale. I don't know how they'll tell you when to move.
Thank you very much.
And so you don't leave. But you want to
Okay.
stay or you go?
I'm here.
Stop the infiltration, stop the importation. Find the source. Who's the source? Hold the source that bringing guns in the land. Block the source. Stop the source.
I think that's the
What
first.
we want is eradication.
Is it good now?
You could be an aristocrat, you could be a
People are getting
millionaire.
very frustrated.
Family of pedigree, you're not getting spared. Source could be a businessman, renting out his guns. Game is a solution to stop the gun pollution. Find the source. Who's the source? Hold the source that bringing guns in the land. Block the source. Stop the source. What we want is gun eradication.
So we're using this alone. Camera that keeps saying what's wrong with it.
Find them.
So what happened that night? You
Find them.
signed this, please signed this.
Block the source. Stop the source. What we want is gun eradication. The source could be CRA, customs could be involved. The bottom line is to find the cause, get the gun violence solved. The source could be the listeners who don't want us to say our thing. Every day they keep on telling you, if you see something, say something. Find the source. Who's the source? Hold the source that bringing guns in the land. Block the source. Stop the source. What we want is gun eradication. brother dead. Who's the source? What is source that bringing guns in the land? Rob the source, stop the source. What you want is gun eradication. Stop the infiltration.
You ready? Thank you very much. Welcome back to the second half. We had a really good discussion. We may even have a better discussion in the second half. On my left, attorney at law Ainsley Granger. Ainsley is our candidate for St. Michael East. To my immediate right, Mr. St. Peter himself, Jason Phillips, candidate for St. Peter.
Thank you.
And our roving attorney at law, young Damien Fannis, former athlete, 400 and 200 man, practicing law for how many years, Damien?
October will be 4 years.
October would be 4 years. Excellent. Tonight we are going to look at the Tint legislation. Everybody in Barbados is talking about the Tint legislation. Let me tell you, and is Sue with us? Sue, are you still with us?
Yes, I am.
Excellent. We want to hear you on this Tint business because you live in the headquarters of Tint. Excellent. A few months ago, I think it was September, the Prime Minister made this announcement in relation to Tint. And we need to say this. At the time, the Prime Minister said that we were discussing violence in Barbados and severe violence. And the Prime Minister, if I may say so, reduced it to a discussion on Tint with the words, "I want money." So the country was talking about reversing the kind of violence, and the Prime Minister's intervention was to say, "I want money." And that is where the Tint discussions seem to have started. As Senator Rowe said in the Senate, excellent speech yesterday, that it is a money grab, that this country was discussing violence, but the government was discussing money. Gentlemen, is there anyone on this panel who is for the Tint legislation? Speak now, forever hold your peace.
Well,
Up to you, Jason.
yeah, we must look at the purpose versus practice.
For or against?
Well, I can tell you,
We started with for or against. Let's
I
start.
am
let's start with-
completely against.
You're against.
Completely again.
Completely against.
I'm against.
You want to talk a lot, so let's hear you. So
Yes,
you're still a part Bajan. You want this state legislation in Barbados?
absolutely not.
Good. Well, we're going to hear from lawyer Jason Phillips, candidate for St. Peter. He has a lot to say against state legislation. Let's hear you, Jason.
Yeah, because people in St. Peter are frustrated with this legislation.
Yes.
State legislation was introduced to aid law enforcement, right? Particularly to improve officer safety
Yes.
and public security during traffic stops and surveillance operations. It was meant to prevent, it was meant to be a crime tool, but not as a blanket for harassing people,
Prescription, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So what we're seeing is a pattern of overreaching, right? Targeting ordinary Barbadians, particularly young men
Yeah.
from the working class communities. This law is being used not to fight crime, but to create tension between citizens and the state.
Interesting view. Ainsley Granger wouldn't mind me saying that he is a former police officer. And not only a former police officer, but a former prosecutor. So that he comes well qualified. He has prosecuted people in the court. You ever prosecuted anybody, I think, sir? Okay. And he is a lawyer. And as I said, candidate for St. Michael East. Your view on this state legislation?
Thank you. Good night, viewers in Barbados and the diaspora. Now, let me say from the outset, the Democratic Labour Party has been critical of government's implementation of this legislation. But before anyone gets it twisted, we in the Democratic Labour Party are for law and order. What we are against is government's high-handed and heavy-handed approach to the implementation of legislation.
Mhm.
And this implementation of a Tint law will not and has not affect or deal with what is the burning issue that is grappling Barbados today,
Which is
as
violent
the
crime.
issue of crime.
Yes, and violent crime.
And violent
Yes,
crime,
yes.
where no one is spared,
Yeah.
not even our elderly,
Mhm.
who in the twilight of their years want to live in peace and safety. They are affected by violent crime. And this Tint legislation, to me, is a couple
Mhm.
and is a distraction from the government
Mhm.
dealing specifically
Mhm.
with handling and treating the violent crime. It is ill-advised, it's ill-conceived, and I call on the government to reconsider this implementation of this legislation.
Thank you. Thank you. Damien, you're against it. Why?
Well, because I think it's a gross oversight on the separation of powers.
Mhm.
I believe that once you've done that, when you begin,
No, you have three lawyers here. We know what is separation of powers. I want you to talk to the public. What's this separation of powers?
separation of powers principle, where that the executive, which would be probably
The cabinet?
the cabinet, the
Mhm.
administration itself,
Yes.
the prime minister, the legislature who implements laws.
That's parliament.
That's parliament.
So we have the cabinet, the parliament,
And then is the judiciary.
judiciary, right?
There is this
The three institutions that make up the state,
make up the
and
state
their powers must be separate.
must be separate.
Want you to tell the public that. Press on.
So the administration cannot tell the judiciary, in a sense, what to do. The judiciary is separate in a sense.
When you say the administration, the cabinet,
The cabinet, right?
through the voice of the prime minister.
Right, they cannot overstep into the processes of the judiciary when they are, in a sense, governing our laws,
Right.
and then
Right.
assigning penalties or what's not.
Mhm.
So when you take a criminal offense, when you say that you take a criminal offense and then turn it into a civil wrong,
Yes, yes.
you turn it into a civil wrong, and then say that
Under the administration of a minister.
on the administration of a minister,
Mhm.
in conjunction with the police, to institute a administrative fine.
Yes.
Right? That was wrong, because the judiciary is who implements fines,
Mhm.
right? A minister, and I want to be clear to the Canadian public, stay with me now.
Mhm.
The judiciary fines.
Yeah.
A minister can only implement a tax through policy
Correct.
or processes in regards to whatever it is that is purview of his ministry. Right?
Okay.
So a minister cannot come and then implement a fine or administrative fine
Yeah.
on the people.
Yeah.
So he cannot take a criminal offense
Mhm.
and then say, I'm going to impose then a fine on the Barbadian public. That in itself is a tax.
Right.
I want to be
Right.
clear on that.
Right.
That's a tax, not a fine.
Yes.
Tax.
Yes. Yes. So that the power to fine or to penalize can be done only by a court.
Only by the court.
And what they have done, they have taken a law that empowers the court to fine people or to confine them, to put them in prison.
Right.
Well, in this case, fine people.
Right. And if you read
And they have given that power to a minister, and you
Minister.
cannot do that. And that is what the separation of powers prevents them from doing.
right.
A power given to the court cannot be transferred to a minister.
Right.
And that's the point young Damien Panis is making.
So if you look at how our laws are worded, say like you will be under, say, a summary conviction or a conviction,
Mhm.
be held liable by fine or by say incarceration,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
A minister cannot fine
Cannot
you,
do that,
cannot
precisely.
convict you.
Cannot.
He cannot convict
That's
you.
not his function.
He cannot find you liable,
Right.
right, under summary
Right.
conviction or what's that is the process of the court. So then when you put it in the hands of a minister now, you breach the separation of
Of
powers.
powers doctrine.
And then
Yeah.
now you're imposing an arbitrary fine on the people.
Yeah.
Because you want to combat crime.
Mhm.
As you said, the crime being the overarching mischief, but then you still not linked it to the particular mischief. Because when you say a crime is crime is an overarching topic.
Yeah.
The different subsets of crime.
Mhm.
You get me? So like there's fraud, and there's fraud, money laundering, violent crime, battery, assault. But you've not linked it to what particular crime per se. You said violent crime, but you've not shown how it's linked.
Let's go to Sue. Sue, you're hearing us? We have the sound problem sorted. We're
I
good.
can hear
Sue,
you.
You're hearing everything we're saying.
Yes, I can hear you
Excellent.
clearly now.
Now, this issue is a major issue in Barbados at present. And the American vehicles that come here come with the rear windows tinted, but the windows at the front are not tinted. Do you know why that is so?
So I don't know exactly why that is. So all of our cars look like that. There's a 70% tint. Well, it's a requirement. It's on all of the cars, and I am not. If we're importing the cars like this, I'm not so sure how they're tying, as Damien said, how they're tying this tint law to crime. And as a Barbadian looking in without, not knowing the intricacies of the laws and so on, it's a bit embarrassing to see that we have a government doing something like this with a crisis that's raging out of control. The tint here, there's some kind of fine set up for New York, and it goes from about $25 up to about $150 per window in some instances, and it's not in any way tied to crime or criminality or any kind of thing like that. So looking on, it just doesn't make sense, and we just don't know what to say about it, because it doesn't make sense to talk about tint in the middle of this crisis.
But let me
and
tell you,
to burden people, and the people who will be hurt most will be the people probably who can least afford it.
yes, let me tell you my interpretation of the tint in the UX. The driver's window and the passenger's windows are clear. And I've always assumed that's so that the police officer driving next to them can look and see who is the driver. I've concluded that. And you can do the back. I think that's what it is, to be fair.
Yes.
Yeah, but
and the back the back is about 70%.
70.
Yeah, 70.
20. So the prescription here is for a lot clearer tint. But let's come. You mentioned fines. You said 100 per window or something like that.
It begins at $25 in New York, state of New York, and it goes up to about $150 per window.
Per window.
Yes.
Okay. Here in Barbados, we're doing 500, gentlemen.
Oh my God.
Now, apart from separation of powers, if it had been rooted as a civil penalty in the first place, let us assume it wasn't in the Road Traffic Act. It was just a piece of legislation which legislated for a civil, like parking. Parking is a ticket. You hand out the ticket, $50. But here it is, a police officer may hand you a ticket, and it's $500. So the difference between parking 50 and I think 500. What's this all about? Why is it so expensive?
Sorry, is it 500 per window or just 500?
500 for the offense.
Oh, okay.
500.
Okay. Sorry.
Which is $250 US, as you know. Still expensive. Yeah, Jason, parking is $50. Tint is 500. Why this disparity? This wide disparity?
Well, I think it goes to a deeper problem, right? We're looking at balancing crime prevention and constitutional rights.
Let's deal with the disparity. I want you to explain to the public your view as the. Well, you park badly, you pay $50.
Well, if we are looking at the disparity in
5 and 50, do you think that is a fair disparity?
No, I think the government is using this law to get revenue.
Right. That's where it's going.
I don't agree you're going there, but I want to go.
Well, you don't want to
more legal. I want to go more legal.
No, but you talking to the public. Let's leave out the legality. Let's talk to the public.
It's
In terms of
yeah, but
fairness and unfairness.
yeah, but
And you park badly in Bridgetown.
not me.
And you pay $50. I drive by, not parking badly, with my dark tint, and I pay $500. That's fair?
No, because the Barbados Labour Party led government is praising money of
Out
the
of people.
citizens of Barbados.
Yes, I think that was Ainsley's view. This disparity. You park badly $50, you have to pay $500. Somebody has to explain that disparity.
Right, that's why you say that the whole legislation and the thought of it is ill-conceived,
Yes.
is ill-advised. And this legislation only goes to hurt the average man.
Mhm.
And I'm asking government, where is the people? Where is the people? Where are the people in this legislation?
Damien is calling it a tax, an unfair tax.
Yes.
Because as I say, you parking it 50. But along comes government, and remember the Prime Minister must be hoisted on her own petard because she said, I want money.
Yeah.
And the government comes along and says, $500. This feels like a government that is desperate to collect money.
Plus the surcharge.
Yes, $10 a day. So that
Yeah,
compared against the parking, does this feel like a government? I think Senator Rowe was making this point. He called it a money grab in the Senate.
that's all. That
It feels like that to you.
well said.
It feels like a government that
Yes,
is desperate to collect some money.
yes, yes. And
Yes.
it-
And it's less about Tint and more about
and more
wanting money.
and more wanting money.
That's your view, Damien?
That is my view,
Yeah.
especially when you look at the minimum wage.
Oh gosh, precisely.
They recently raised,
Excellent point.
they recently raised the minimum wage, but then still implemented another tax. You get it? Then when you implement this $500 fine, you're not thinking about the person that earns minimum
We
wage.
don't use this guy's language. A girl working in Barbados at the gas station, or a boy, how much they get?
Probably about 360 in their hand, but probably after tax, it's probably gonna be less than that.
And you're finding people $500,
More than minimum wage.
more than minimum wage.
And then when you think about it,
So it is a money grab. Senator Rowe was right. It's a money grab. Ridiculous.
when you go on places like say Facebook Market, like the marketplace on Facebook, and you buy a small car for say you borrow a little loan and you get a small car for $7,500. That's where you could manage.
Yeah.
Right
Yeah.
between $5,000 or $7,000.
Yeah.
And it already comes with it. You get me? You want to get around, you want to drop around your children,
Yeah.
carry your grandmother to church.
Do a little hustle, as they say.
So you get me? So you get a little small car for a little $7,000, and then you get hit with a $500. You're still earning.
Yeah.
You're still earning minimum wage.
Right.
And you're then still trying to pay bills. You're still trying to feed your children. You're still trying to pay off the loan. This was not conceived with the average low earning income Barbadian in mind. So this government is out of touch.
You don't care.
Does it have anything
So-
to do with crime prevention? So yes. Yes.
So I wanted to ask, so if you're unable to pay this $500, is there some kind of set jail time as well? How does it work?
It's become a civil penalty. It's not criminal anymore. For every
Okay.
day that remains unpaid, you pay $10 per day. So if you remain delinquent for 50 days, that's another $500. You seem shocked. This is the country we're living in. Okay, you stay shocked, so we're coming back to you. I was asking,
Yeah, crime prevention.
yes. So how do you relate this? How do you relate this to crime prevention?
Right, as I was saying earlier, I guess I got to speak on it now. I'm very concerned with the balance between crime prevention and constitutional rights.
Okay.
And we must ask the hard questions. Are our laws being used to protect citizens
Yes.
or to control them?
Or condemn.
Even so, right?
condemn them financially, as Damien is saying.
And we have to look at the rule of law in such a way, because the rule of law speaks to everyone being subject to law,
To the law, yeah.
including the government.
I have something to tell you.
And therefore,
I have something to tell you.
go ahead and tell me.
Do you know that when the debate was going on and the Attorney General was presenting, I am writing my notes because they only give me notice 24 hours before, but they don't disable me against me. So he starts to speak of the exemptions, and I was sure he said the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister is exempt, but his voice dropped. The Prime Minister. Why is the Prime Minister, why must Jason Phillips
It goes back to the rule
not be allowed to have dark tint, and the Prime Minister is allowed to have dark tint? Because if it is security, surely all the members of cabinet should have. Exempt. So why the Prime Minister? Why the Prime Minister?
because you're floating the Constitution.
Above the law.
Because
The Prime Minister is above the laws.
you said it.
You said it.
But my concern again is this: if today they are telling us that we can't take our vehicle,
Mhm.
tomorrow they're going to tell us we're to go to church,
Excellent.
what we can say, what we should wear. These are fundamental
Freedoms.
freedoms that we are concerned with. In fact, if you remember how they implemented the Republic Constitution, they did not follow the letter of the law per se, as prescribed by Section 9, subsection 3 and 4. Can I just speak a little bit on that?
You behave as if you're the court of appeal.
Okay, but
So you understand this, man?
Yes,
No.
yes.
you
I like to hear Jason.
You must be a court of appeal judge too.
The Barbados,
He's very legalistic.
no, the Barbados Labour Party led government.
Mhm.
Just this little piece.
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you in this legislation.
Yes, please.
The question was asked,
Mhm.
you know, can you change the Constitution of Barbados? And the answer, the simple answer is yes.
Yes, you can.
Section 49, subsection 1.
You can, yes.
But section 49, subsection 3 and 4
Mhm.
speaks to how it should be changed.
Mhm.
2/3 majority in the lower house,
Mhm.
which is House of Assembly.
Yes.
2/3 majority in the upper house, which is the Senate. You have 90 days after the reading of the bill. But then, sections 3 and 4 said you should have had a referendum. Allow the people to vote and have a say. And I'm going to type in here. Their state legislation should have allowed Barbadians to have a say.
Okay. Okay.
Right. So if you feel this is so important, I mean, this is not a strange rule, but Barbadians feel so strongly about this legislation that if you feel that you are doing a good job, you're doing the work of the people,
Mhm.
why not ask the people
For their input.
for the input?
Participate in your democracy. But I'm going to bring you to the court of appeal now. I'll bring you right back down to the citizen.
Okay.
The police stop you
Yes.
and they tell you, look, by tomorrow morning, they give you the ticket. By tomorrow morning, you have that thing off. Yeah. And what do you do the following morning? You have to take it to the technician. Leave your car there. I don't know how you're going to get to work.
Mhm.
I mean, this is major inconvenience that the government is creating
Big disrespect.
over the darkness of a window. How do you gentlemen feel about this? I mean, the disruption, the social disruption that's created, and then you
Because-
don't because yes, you extra cost because apart from paying the $500 fine,
Mhm.
you have to pay the technician.
Of course.
I don't know how much it costs, and your day is gone.
Mhm.
And then if you refuse, which I'm not advising you to do, but if you, I'm not paying this,
Then you affect your further penalize $10 per day.
are you going to deploy your police officers across Barbados
To
to look
enforce.
for Jason, to enforce it, to look for Jason Phillips? Well, they're not going after the former prosecutor. I don't know why. And young Damien,
If it's not gonna complain. If it's not gonna complain.
But if,
Yes,
if I may interject here.
Yes, please.
This legislation makes no sense at this time. The way how it is implemented, the way how government sought to introduce it, it's a heavy-handed approach.
Yes.
And it's an abuse of power. I have all these seats, arbitrarily so. I have all these seats.
They do.
And I do what I
They have all
best.
these
best. We have one, thankfully, one sorry. But what I want to say here, when this legislation, when the Attorney General brought this legislation to Parliament, the night before 24-year-old man was murdered, 24-year-old child was murdered. As we are here discussing this legislation tonight, a man is shot in St. John tonight.
In a drive-by shooting?
Tonight.
In fact, when the Tint legislation came, did not 2 men die by murder that week?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the Prime Minister had a press conference today. But a man is shot tonight. What the Prime Minister has said, oh, the police asked us for this, and they said to us, we don't want to go after all things.
So they're blaming the police, I think. Yeah, should be blamed to the police. This wasn't a government initiative. Now this sorry to cross you, this starts off as with the Prime Minister responding to violent crime and saying, I want money. Why did the Prime Minister not say last September that the police asked for it? Why all of a sudden you're shifting the blame to the police?
Government has now begun to feel the wrath of the
public, precisely.
The government has lost their way. There's no vision. There's high crime. They don't know what to do and to have a pop out. They just toss them in the air. We can take some.
Come back to you. You were done. He caught you midstream.
Yeah.
I'm going to control the Court of Appeal, man.
Right. So I'm saying that it has no bearing. And getting back what you asked. They never, one would have to ask themselves the question, did the police really ask government about this? I don't know.
I know what I believe.
I don't know. But I know what I believe.
Well, let us not say what we believe.
No, I'm not going to say it. But suffice it to say that the asked person to come and pay a $500 fine at a time when they are grappling with high cost of living, high food bill in supermarket, high electricity rate, myriad of taxes and levies imposed upon them. It is unconscionable. It is not a sign of a caring government. And it also comes down, it is affecting the average person. Only on Tuesday, while doing a canvas, I came across a guy who was a tint technician. Really? And I asked him how is business since the oil business slowed down. So he is affected by this.
So people are afraid to tint. Ainsley and Damien and Jason, I want to ask the question, security. And I'm not talking about security from the perspective of the police. I'm talking about security of the car owner, young ladies in particular. Do people use it as self-protective, as a self-protective measure?
I believe so. Yeah, it's
you're in your car and you feel cozy and you can drive by unnoticed and the privacy
and the safety that privacy gives you.
Yes.
Because not only does it not allow certain persons to see into your car, you understand, and you could probably have certain possessions in your car,
right?
But I'm pretty sure that the tint comes now with this UV protection.
Oh, so it's there are health implications
There
as
are
well.
implications as well. And as I last checked, this administration was focusing very heavily on climate change.
Climate change, yeah.
How hot it's getting in Barbados.
So they're contradicting themselves.
So you're contradicting yourself. So then no, you're telling the Barbadian public, your money means more to me than your health.
Than your health, or your privacy,
And I want your money.
or your security.
Or your security.
You know, Damien, you do criminal law, right?
No, I don't.
You don't. Women are victimized by crime because they're women. Yeah. Let me go again, Jason, Court of Appeal, man. A lot of women are targeted by criminals because they're women. They're seen as physically weaker. Now, a woman might decide, look, I'm driving by and I may be afraid of this fella who looks menacing and I want some black thing. This is reality. These are the real lives of women, that they know that they are targeted by criminals because they're women, not because it's another arbitrary human being, because they're women. And that is the disadvantage women face in the society, that they're seen as being physically weaker. If a woman lives in a house by herself, for example, they use this word scope. A man will scope that house and say, I going in there. Because a woman lives there, and if I go in there, she can't overpower me. So that's how women are targeted. And I want to suggest to you that Tint has value to women who may be targeted, not maybe, who are targeted. Yeah? Your view.
Well, I think I totally agree with you.
Mhm.
Because there's nothing wrong with having a little bit of privacy.
Right.
And to suggest that if you remove things from cars, it will reduce crime is a fallacy. For example, the gentleman was walking across the road just coming from the bank,
Mhm.
and he was robbed.
Mhm.
There was no thing involved in.
When was that?
A few weeks ago.
Oh, right.
There was they had,
Oh, yes. And he's old.
yeah,
Again, like women, women are targeted because they're women. Old people are targeted because they're old. But nobody coming into your house. Able body, strong.
but the point I'm making is that thing did not removing it did not prevent that crime from being prevented.
Mhm. From being committed. Yeah.
You have guys riding by on motorbikes, shooting people. There's no thing involved in.
Nothing.
So where's the correlation between Tint?
I think the public has not the public seen through the folly of it initially.
I believe they are. And I what they are.
Mm-hmm.
And what they are. Because it has no bearing
Mm-hmm.
on, as I said, the crime that they are
Claiming that
protect that this thing will
it's not making sense.
It's not making sense. And as I said, as we speak,
Mm-hmm.
a man is shot.
Yes.
As we speak. Right? While we are claiming, or the government for that matter, is talking about this state regulation. It's a nonsense.
Let's go to the board. Who are we going to, Lemuel or Rihanna? Rihanna Thorne, the 76-year-old that was raped 3 times. No Tint was involved. Let's go to Lemuel. What's Lemuel saying? I am sure it will help criminals spot their intended victims more easily. Thanks, Lemuel. It will help criminals spot their intended victims more easily. And that's the point we were making.
Yeah.
And you were making the point about the law ought to protect people. This law is exposing people.
Of course it is. I mean, Tint operates like a blind. In your house, you have curtains as a form of protection.
As a form and privacy.
And privacy.
Yeah.
And if you have a vehicle, it's your property. It is being used as a form of privacy, right? So I think the government, the Barbados Labour Party-led government, is out of ideas.
Yes.
They don't know how.
Much is clear.
They don't know how to manage crime in this country.
They don't.
As I said the other night,
They don't know, or they're unwilling to. You probably don't want to answer that. Let's go to Pedro German. The PM said today She doesn't want any exemption. However, I find it difficult to give her the benefit of the doubt. So she and her Attorney General did not speak before he brought this law to Parliament because he whispered that the Prime Minister is exempt. And I was about to ask y'all, and I want to hear from my former prosecutor friend here, why is the Prime Minister exempt?
I believe that within all legislation of this type, there are exemptions to something.
On what basis? Security?
Yeah.
But is she then as
I-
vulnerable as any cabinet minister? Yeah, she's only prime minister. She's only first among equals, but they are all
Yes.
equal.
Yes.
And if you're protecting the prime minister, you have to protect all the members of cabinet.
And then if you are protecting the Prime Minister, you have to protect the entire country.
But there you are.
So if the Prime Minister cannot be held liable or culpable for things,
Mhm.
why should I be?
Because
Why
she's
should
above the law.
you be?
It seems that she's above the law.
That is where it boils down to.
But again, Ainsley, the confusion. The Attorney General comes to the Parliament last week and says the Prime Minister is exempt. The Prime Minister does a press conference today. This is what someone is saying, and says that she doesn't want the exemption. You see the confusion, baby, the confusion in government. 1 week a man is in the legislature saying the Prime Minister is exempt. A week later, the Prime Minister comes and says, I don't want the exemption.
It means it was not planned properly in the first place.
But there we are.
But one day ago, the Attorney General was saying, don't worry, they give me things like the sun too hot. And this
Ah,
and that."
yes.
Today, the Prime Minister is saying, the police said, we ain't going after all things being regulated.
For pure confusion. No principle.
Ill advice,
Still concede.
ill conceit. I don't believe they had any discussion at all. This is just something,
Yeah.
just
Arbitrary.
jump up and say we doing this.
The word that's coming to me is politic and electioneering. Everything is geared towards popularity. Principle means nothing to this government. Everything is about what makes them popular. So if doing nonsense or illogic makes them popular, they'll do it.
But there are other things that need to be removed from too.
This is something you can say on air.
Of course they can say it on here. Of course they can say it on here. It needs to be removed from the many consultants that government have. So that the public can see how many there are and how much they're being paid.
Excellent point.
Tint needs to be removed from Hope.
Yeah.
So that the people would know whether there's corruption in it or not.
Yes.
Remove the tint from the 67 people that went to Dubai. So the people will know how much money was paid
Yes. Yeah.
for that trip. So we could be talking about things. Let me talk about things.
Oh, yes.
And the
Oh,
removal
yes.
of things.
Oh, yes.
So, I mean, remove the thing from the vaccine scandal. Let me know what really went wrong. People want to see through that. The same way you say the tint must be removed that you can see through the vehicle from a reasonable distance. We want to see that from a reasonable distance too.
Excellent point.
When this government came to office, they came under the guise or the premise of transparency and accountability. And I read somewhere that power without accountability equals tyranny in disguise. I know your words in Parliament in the budget. Show me democracy, show your tyranny in the making.
Yes. Yes.
So this is where we are.
Now at the height, and let's talk. Stu, you're still with us?
Yes,
You're
I'm
enjoying
here,
this, are you? I hope you're
listening
enjoying it.
intently.
Good. Last week, 2 men got killed. Two young men in Barbados got killed. And during that week, 2 ministers were dancing on Broad Street with a group of police officers. Don't focus on the police officers, they're entitled to distress. But 2 ministers, including the Attorney General. Last week, Thursday. Friday or Thursday? Friday. They blocked Bridgetown for this. And not only were they dancing in the street, but taking selfies of with each other. What is the message this is sending to Barbadians at the height of a crime spree? Your attorney general and a fellow minister in Broad Street grinning and taking selfies. They mean what message is being sent? Certainly to the relatives of the dead people.
Right.
And certainly to Barbadians who are in fear. What message are you sending? What is this public behavior conveying to Barbadians? That you're taking crime seriously?
Let me first say to the Barbadian services, let me put their lives on the line.
Yes. They
deserve all the plaudits they can get. They're underpaid, they're undervalued, underappreciated, under-equipped, and they do deserve a moment to distress.
Yes.
But
yes, I agree with that.
The timing of it can be criticized because, as you said, not probably 24 hours, 40 hours before we probably had about 2 murders. And then after
they need it. They need it. Yeah.
They need it.
But let's focus on the ministers.
It seems like these individuals, though they came into power saying that we are for you, but at the same time they're saying that they're out of touch.
Yes.
They're not, as I said before, you cannot legislate from your office. You have to be in the trenches. You have to be in the communities with people. You have to understand their pain, and these individuals that who lost persons to come and see that they may have lost a loved one the night before, and then you ill-advised scheduled a party. You understand me? A party in front of the whole Barbadian community to see.
Yes.
The timing was wrong.
Insensitive.
It was insensitive to those who lost loved ones.
I like something you said. You said police officers are underappreciated, underpaid. Jason, during the St. James North by-election, we called for the police officers to receive the pay that they were promised a year ago. The senior constable designation was supposed to have been implemented 1 year ago. But it was only when, speaking humbly, I went on the platform and said, look, it hasn't been done. Because the police told it hadn't been done. And the Prime Minister said, oh, it shall be done. And correspondence went out between the ministries ordering that it be done. So they were supposed to be paid last month, the increase. My information is that they have not been paid. They were supposed to be paid, Jason, in May. Damien is talking about underappreciation and underpay. So you have police officers in Barbados who were supposed to have become senior constables last year by virtue of having served 20 years. It has not happened. And they took them to Broad Street last week to jump up. And still showing underappreciation and showing an unwillingness to give the people what is due to them.
Destruction by party.
Distraction by party.
Destruction by threat or destruction by party.
How does this strike you?
To me, it's twofold. When you see an attorney general walking up in Broad Street, frolicking, to me, it's almost like a dereliction of duty. When you have Barbadians suffering, dying in the streets, you don't. It seems as though you don't care. And then when you don't pay the police what they deserve, it almost is like, I don't really care so much about you, right? And it goes further, because it tells us how you really think about the people that are there to protect this state.
Yeah, right, police officers.
Yes.
You can't care much about them if 1 year later you're still not promoting them as promised. And 1 month later you're still not paying them.
I hope when the time comes, those same police officers deal with this Barbados Labour Party-led government at the poll and vote the Democratic Labour Party.
My prosecutor friend here to my left, I heard of a police officer today who is retiring shortly. He had served 40 years plus in the police service, formerly the police force. Ainsley, he is going home as a constable. And he has not even receive the dignity of the senior constable promotion because he hasn't got it and he hasn't been paid. 40 plus years in the police service and you're not promoted. What does that do to a person? You were there, you walked that road. Well, you got promoted, but there are others of your former comrades. So what does that do to a man or a woman for that matter?
It can be demoralizing. Especially if he was in the zone of promotion.
Explain to us zone of promotion.
Okay, when a person decides to sit the police exam, you can sit the exam after 2 years.
And that's open to all police officers?
At the constable level.
Yes.
When you pass that exam, you then go into what is called the promotion zone.
Oh, I see.
So then the command of the force can meet and go through the list of persons that are eligible for promotion within this zone and can decide, well, okay, we want to promote A or B. This also goes for the sergeant, but in this case, you say as a constable.
How is that possible?
How is it possible?
I mean, he remained in the service, and I was told he never had any charges, no disciplinary problems. He was just treated as somebody who was there. And he is going home 40 plus years later, and he's a constable. I mean, how is this possible in a military organization where you would expect that longevity counts for something? I mean, he must have some skill that a gentleman who has only served 2 years would not have. How is it possible for him to have served 40 years? Or like the other one, he got publicity. He was in 39 years. He must have done something good in the police service that both of his children joined the police service. A boy and a girl. And they joined. So he must have had some exemplary appeal to them as a police officer. Again, at the service, 39 years, he was still a constable.
Yes.
My question to you, should there not be some guarantee of promotion together with longevity of service?
That would be good, but it doesn't happen.
You said it would be good.
It would be good.
Supposing you're sitting in a government and you're asked to propose to the administration, to the government of which you're a part, on the issue of promotion. And they say, look, Mr. Granger, you walk that road, you're a police officer, you're a good police prosecutor. That's my personal testimony. And then you became a lawyer, you've seen it from both sides. Should there not be some prospect, almost guarantee, of promotion after you serve X number of years? As they've done with senior constables, because they've said, okay, if you have 20 years, automatically you become a senior constable. Should that not have been a part of the system all along?
And they say, I can sit here and say it should be, but it never was.
Would you propose it?
Of course I would.
You would propose it?
I would. I think.
Yeah.
I think that.
sorry.
I can say this: that a Democratic Labour Party-led government. I don't want to speak.
Relatine, no, say it, please. No, you say it.
As long as I'm a part of it, these are proposals that will come.
Promotions in the police service
That
will be guaranteed.
will come.
With longevity of
And
service.
that must come, because for too long, policemen have been neglected. I know it. I lived it.
Yes.
And therefore, I will not want to be a party to seeing it continue.
Yes.
It must stop. And I am saying that the Democratic Labour Party government, of which I intend to be a part,
excellent,
will see that does not continue.
Excellent.
It cannot continue.
Excellent. Not only promotion, but pay.
But paid.
Our police officers are.
There are instances now where policemen are complaining of allowances dated back to 2008 that
Unpaid?
have not been paid. I have been sought. They're seeking my advice on it. And I'm sure there's something that will be explored in the not too distant future.
But your consultant's getting the money though.
But there you are, big.
Yes.
I tell you stories about that. Not only are they getting money, but some of the consultants actually have, I better not say. So, policing in the US, do you get a sense that police officers are treated as badly by the system as they are in Barbados? Underpaid, underappreciated, underpromoted, while overperforming? Or is a police career still a prestigious career?
I'd say it's still probably attractive because the starting pay is not that bad.
Not
So
that bad.
it's not.
You have any idea? You have any idea?
I think the last number I heard was 45 to 50,000 US start.
Okay.
Speaking on the correction, but it is not less than 40. It's not less than 40.
But it is seen as an attractive career option, is it?
Yeah, still.
Yeah.
And especially with it depends on the state you're in. But yes, it can be seen as attractive, and they get all, medical benefits, all the stuff that goes along with that.
Jason, when I first met you, I said, this man is a police officer. I get a lot. Your view on how the government has been treated the police service?
Right now, the government is complaining that there are not enough people joining the police service of Barbados.
Or would they?
And you should make you should make the job attractive.
Yes.
For example, I'm sure that if let me put it this way, I'm sure that when the Democratic Labour Party is returned to government, they'll be putting some attractive things on board. And I have a proposal to you. This is not policy, but I would suggest this to you as a cabinet minister. Perhaps if you put in 5 years in the police service, we will back you with a loan to get a house, especially if you're married. Right? So
especially if you're married,
yeah,
especially discriminated against.
No, I am saying that, please, right? But
Give me a laugh.
But if
You're a bachelor, right, David? Why is he discriminated against the dashing young bachelor?
But I am saying
You give him a loan only if he's married?
no, I'm saying if you put in 5 years service, they're right off the bat.
Yes.
You are causing people to want to stay in the police service.
Why you're forcing a man married?
Right?
Why you doing?
No, to get that loan, to get that mortgage. And or we can also consider assisting police officers in getting loans for vehicles too, because they have to get to and from work.
Yes.
Those are two main pieces of legislation that we can look at. I mean, it's not policy, but it will surely be a recommendation from me to you. That's part of the
But something I would want to add on here. I want to ask the Attorney General and the Prime Minister, what has become of the promise of duty-free cars to the police?
Yes, indeed.
You promised them. What has become of that?
And this is a government that is not shy about spending. This has been one of the highest spending governments ever in the history of Barbados.
So stop using the police as a political football. Do something tangible for the police.
Yes.
You must do it. You promise it. They deserve it. The police deserve better.
Let's go to the board. We have a Kenny Betts. I don't know if we know him. You have to do an exam. Focus on Kenny there first, please. You have to do an exam, then you go for an interview in order to be promoted. You have to do an exam, and then
Yes, he's right. You do an exam, and I said before, after 2 years, you finish your probationary period.
Tell us about the interview. That's what I'm curious about.
Right.
That interview is the deciding point. You go to the high command and they interview you.
You go to the high command and you're interviewed. Before,
So what I want to ask you, Ainsley, sorry to interrupt you, but you do the exam.
yes,
So is the exam not the final determinant as to whether you get the promotion?
no,
The
no.
interview decides that?
yes.
So it's the interviewer,
You go to do the exam, you are successful in the exam.
right?
You go into the promotion pool.
Yes,
You are then called for an interview
by the high command.
by the promotion panel.
High command.
By the way, the high
Who
command.
the cow likes? What does he do?
Right, right. So passing the exam is not
It's not the final.
the final
Factor.
thing.
You agree with that?
I agree with it.
Look, a government would have to, a new government would have to overhaul policing in Barbados. Come up with a new system entirely. Because there's a sense in which it is still a colonial organization. They're not calling it royal anymore. But the system is colonial. The system depends a lot on privilege and affections. Because Kenny is saying everybody does the exam, everybody can do the exam, but he is suggesting that after this exam, you go before the high command and they decide.
If it's transparent, the exam alone should determine.
Precisely.
If it's transparent.
Precisely. So that tells me that that merit is not the final determining factor for the promotion.
You should take the take off that too.
Yeah, there we are. Baby, you seem shocked. You never wanted to be a police officer, but you seem shocked to hear these things.
I think it's kind of cruel that you leave people in promotion limbo.
I like how you put it.
If you perform, you have a legitimate expectation to be rewarded.
Precisely.
And if you're telling me that individuals can be in a police force for 40 years, don't have a demerit on their name, they're passing an exam, and then yet that's not even good enough to get promoted, it's something that's very, very, very wrong.
Yeah. My heart really bled for him when I heard that today. And I heard it from an ex-police officer. 40+ years that he's going over.
Not to mention they're putting their life on the line
Oh yeah.
for these murders in Barbados.
Yeah.
Week after week.
And then you throw them under the bus saying, we wanted Tint to help fight crime.
Somebody was saying,
Yes, so
somebody was saying that they're about to import police officers, and if that is true, then it would be interesting to see what are they, how are they enticing police officers to Barbados when it is not an attractive package for local police officers now. So what would they be offering? What incentives?
And what quality of officer are you going to get? Because we are training officers here, and they're leaving and going to Bermuda. No secret, Cayman Islands.
Yes.
Turks and Caicos. So what quality officer are we going to bring here?
Yeah.
Interesting point. But when you're not treating your police officers well, you're promoting further crisis within the system.
Right.
And violence could erupt. You're not policing the streets properly. You don't have the adequate police resources. What do violators do? Run free. We're all looking at each other. Ainsley, how many years you did? My 38.
When the cat is away, it might be.
Yeah. But I would say for some, promotion is very hard to come by. For others, it comes rather easily. Again, it comes down to who they call like. Yeah, who they call like. So in my instance, I found that to be promoted is really hard.
Mr. Kenneth Bex is again telling us, who is Kenneth Bex? He's telling us there is also provision for the Commissioner of Police to promote someone without doing an exam. That's true.
That is true, but that is very
rare.
Very rare. Very rare. And usually it comes when a fella is probably almost ready to. Oh, I see. But that is not something that happens. But yes, I know of persons that it has happened.
When during the St. James North by-election, we had an excellent platform, thanks to you. When we spoke for the police officers, the nurses got upset with us and said, but you gotta speak for us too. And Lemuel is telling us, don't forget the Ghanaian nurses are paid better than the local nurses. Is that true?
Yes.
You know that? So it means, is that true, Sue?
Yeah, the nurses said that they're paid higher than their highest level of pay.
Really? I presume that Lemuel is telling us that because he wants us to anticipate that an imported police officer may well be better paid than a local
Yes.
officer, because you have to give him an incentive.
And they get housing and so on, other incentives, the nurses.
Yes.
If I-
We're in trouble. As Esther Blue said, Barbados is in serious trouble, and she says it in block letters.
Poor governance.
Yes, Damien.
If I may say, Thorne,
Little louder, Damien.
the American issue is a very, very, very serious one.
Really?
I have a friend, Michelle Marshall.
Don't call her name, please. We gotta stop you.
But I would like to bring her on to speak at the program
Oh,
so that she can highlight the issue.
she's a nurse.
She's a nurse, and she's been telling me that she wants me to bring these issues to light, and I'm very glad that you brought it up, because I'm going to speak to you.
She's working overseas, I hope. You're exposed to this lady to something.
But she's a firebrand. She's not afraid to come on here and speak about nurses' issues. She would come on here and she would speak. She wants to highlight these issues.
So there are lots of problems.
So Barbadians are upset with the governance of this country by the Barbados Labour Party-led government.
Yeah.
And something must be done.
And you know, one of the things that occurred to me is that this government has gone 7 years. This government lacks stamina.
They don't have any ideas.
They are tired, and people are tired, and they've only gone 7 years. The people of Barbados gave them 10 years with 230 loves, and after 7 years, what are we getting? Indecision, insecurity,
Promises made.
lack of principle, pure confusion. The Prime Minister gets an exemption last week, and she comes today and says, I don't need the exemption, and people are supposed to be impressed. You're supposed to become popular as a result. No principle. Principle means nothing with this government. 7 years.
Not to mention like taxation, you're not gonna get these things.
High taxation.
Like taxation.
Yes. What are we going to do about the Tint? We're running out of time. What are we going to do about the Tint?
Barbadians,
Do you think? You tell us what.
I suggest that Barbadians, if you are fed up with this proposal, let your voices be heard. We in the Democratic Labour Party will do our part.
Yes.
We will keep the government's feet to the fire.
Mhm.
But go on social media, talk to your parliamentary representatives, and let them know that you dislike this law.
And that you're going to force the government to reverse their position,
Oh, yes.
which they plan to implement in September, obviously. That's what Barbadians have to do. Barbadians have to indicate their displeasure,
Stand up for your
and
rights.
their resistance to it.
Yes.
Not by rioting. We don't riot, but our voices are strong. Social media is very strong. What are we going to do, Damien?
I actually have a legal strategy.
Mhm.
It actually came to me this morning when I was thinking about the whole issue.
Mhm.
If you move the whole criminal offense into the civil right,
Yes.
you can only commit a criminal offense against the state.
Mhm.
You cannot commit a civil wrong
Mhm.
against
Against the state.
You can only commit civil wrongs against a person, and that's where you can probably commit a civil wrong and a criminal wrong against a company because they have a separate legal personality.
Your colleagues going to steal your approach.
I want them to. I want somebody to actually.
You don't mind sharing it.
I don't mind sharing it because somebody has to challenge the state on this. So therefore, if you're saying it's in the civil realm,
Yes.
and you cannot commit it's no longer criminal offense, and you cannot commit a civil offense against the state,
Mhm.
then there's no one that suffers injury.
Mhm.
The state can't suffer injury,
So there's no liability.
so there's no liability. So anybody then know who is put in this situation where they have to pay $500 for a civil penalty or a civil offense, or as they want to put it, a civil wrong against the state. You cannot commit a civil wrong against a state.
So you have a test client there. He's going to do it. Or are you going to court for him?
I can leave that. I can leave that. Because then the discussion now becomes, is it a tort? Is it a tort or a trespass? Who is the tort or trespass against? Is it against the police officers? They're part of the state. You understand? So you can't commit. If it can only be a trespass or a tort if their civil person is compromised or attacked. So if there's no wrong done to them, you've not committed any wrong. So therefore, the penalty should not apply.
Loads of free legal advice from the young Damian Panelists.
Just remember where it came from. You
heard it first.
You heard it first here on DLP TV. You heard it first here.
Resistant. What are Barbadians going to do into the greater? What we say here is that this government, through their numbers in parliament, has seemed to have taken the Barbadian public for a ride and believe that they can do what they want to do based on their numbers. And without respect for anybody, right? Again, it comes down, might is right.
Might is right.
Yeah. This is wrong.
Yes. Yes.
Right? So I understand that if this continues or it's allowed to continue, whether these windows are tinted or not, we are in serious trouble. We are in serious trouble. But as the mighty Gabby said, one day coming soon. That's all I can say. One day coming soon.
One day coming soon, next Tuesday. We're going to be here again on the DLP TV. This has been a wonderful discussion. So,
Yes.
from all the way in, wherever you are, I don't think you like disclosing your whereabouts as a matter of security. So we're going to leave you behind your dark tent. But thanks very much for coming. And look, you have to be doing this every week. You are our North American correspondent. Can you give us the pleasure of your company every week?
I am here to help in any way that I can. If I can't be here every week, I'll try to make it as often as I can.
Sure.
But I just want to say, in answer to your question, I feel that Barbadians need to get up. And if marching is an option, if it's a tool in the toolbox, use it, because we have to let the government know that we're not happy, and there are a lot of people not happy. I know they're scared, but they have to, if you can march, please march.
Thank you. And Esther Blue is reminding us that the Marcia Week show is doing a march on Saturday, is it? You know anything about the time, Sue?
June 14th, that's Saturday, and I think it says from 10 a.m. at the Massey.
That's by Kensington.
Kensington Mall. Yes, Kensington Mall. So
right, if the Attorney General jumped up last week.
Yes. So if we were there, we would have been at the march, early o'clock from 9 a.m. ready.
Well, thanks to Marcia Weeks for continuing to be socially conscious and conscientious. And so thanks to you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
We'll see you next Tuesday, and give Barclay our fondest regards, please.
I will. Thank you, guys. Good night to everybody.
Barbadians. Thanks very, very much for joining us, and join us on Tuesday again, DLP TV. Damien, Jason, and the man from St. Michael East, Ainsley, Ranger. Thank you very much. We had a ball. Thank you.
Thank you.